Hello, welcome everybody to the GK4FREE podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Gilstrap, and I'm here with Will Marshall. It's been a while, but we are back and still with the goal of bringing you the best free goalkeeping content on the internet. It's still our big goal, and we are going to continue to make strides towards that. If you keep up with us and what we've been doing, it's been a little while. So we're going to take some time today to explain what's been going on in both of our lives and sort of put the roadmap out there for what might be coming down the pike. So there's not a whole lot to talk about aside from, Will, what's been going on with you and what's been going on with me.
Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, that's literally really it. So
yeah, I mean, it's been 3 months. I just checked.
3 months, yeah. So some context around 3 months. Like, I guess we'll get into that. So we'll tell you what. So, how are you?
I'm good. I'm busy.
Yeah. What are you busy with right now?
Well, so I mean, let's think. April 15th was our last podcast, right? So that was preseason, I think, for the Riverhounds. We're still in preseason. That was so when I just started. And so now we're 14 games in.
So for everyone that doesn't know, and I think we did mention this in sort of.
I don't think we officially did, but yeah.
Not officially, but Will has joined the pro team staff for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, working with the goalkeepers. So a lot of what we'll talk about today is going to be around that and Will's experience. But just to give you some context there,
for sure.
Trying into 14 games down the road.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we just skipped 3 months, 14 games in now, and I mean we're doing well. I mean we were in second place in the division, and it's our goalkeepers have been playing well. It's been good. I mean it's a lot at times. Like I don't feel like I'm necessarily super busy to the point where I have no time to do anything because I have plenty of free time still because I still manage Marshall Fitness, and I have more clients now than I did the last time we did a podcast. I think I actually doubled in size, maybe over doubled in size since then. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm there every day from 9 to 1. Today I was there till 2, and it's good. I mean, I enjoy being out on the field every day. I mean, it's interesting because I was just talking to my sister about this. And we were talking about how when you're when you're really focused on something, you realize that you don't think.
Right.
You get into a flow state, and that happens to me almost every day now. And it's so weird because I don't think about it until I think about it. I just realize I'm I haven't thought about anything in a long time, and it's a good sign. That's what everybody kind of wants to be at, whether they know it or not. And so I think that's a good thing. I mean, it means I'm focused and enjoying what I'm doing. So it's been all good.
Cool. Let's dig into that a little bit. So, with the pro team, obviously this is your first time. I mean, you've been around pros a lot, right? You've worked with.
Yeah.
You've had relationships, I think, with most of the pros that have come through here, play with the team over the last who knows how many years, because of the work with the Riverhounds Goalkeeper Academy, and pros have always been close to the kids in our academy, because of the nature of that. But I guess, the biggest question is what are you enjoying about it the most? And I guess you did kind of touch on that already, sort of, to get to that sort of ideal state every single day. But what else? What else is fun about it?
So I think I really like working in the pro environment because the level's just so much higher than what I've been around in the past. I mean, I've been around. I was obviously with Virginia Tech, I was in the ACC, but I don't know. There's something about being around pros. It's just a lot more tidy, I guess. You don't see. I don't want to say mistakes, but it's just the expectation's always there for what training's going to be, and then it's just steady, I guess. And I really enjoy serving. I think my kicking's the best it's been in a really long time because I do so much of it. I mean, I think I hit 100 crosses today from all over the place, and that was starting to beat me up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I was hurting there for probably about a month or two in, and I just kind of had to weather it. And yeah, I mean, it's a good time, and like it's always a high level. And I don't know. I think the guys, like, they probably could have justifiably been like, who is this guy? You know,
Right.
like, Will Marshall, yeah, I've done some things, but I never played pro. Like, I'm this undersized goalkeeper, like, and this guy's gonna be our coach. And I think they could have taken that, that stance on things, but I don't think personally that's the right way to go about it. Regardless of that coming from me or, being anybody else, but, they made it really easy for me to come in and kind of like, they listen to me, they want to hear what I have to say. And, I really appreciate that from, our goalkeepers, because it was kind of a simple transition. Like, I didn't feel like I definitely had to, I don't want to say prove myself, but I mean, those first couple of weeks, like, everyone's kind of getting used to each other. And I mean, it wasn't a hard transition.
Yeah, that's great. And I know, what is the dynamic between, because Mike Bohanic's involved with the goalkeepers as well. Mike's the goalkeeper coach for the men's team at the University of Pittsburgh and has been with the Riverhounds in sort of a, I don't want to say part-time capacity, but he comes and goes based because his Pitt commitment obviously is first on his list. So talk a little bit about the relationship that you have between Bohanic and how that works, sort of. And you could even put it in the context of like how it works between the two of you throughout a week and how you collaborate on sessions. And because I think that is such a unique sort of learning opportunity for you, because he's a guy that has been a pro. He's played at a high level. He played in MLS and in the USL, and then he's coached Division I college with top programs, and he's been with youth national teams, right? So no better coach. So he's been on our podcast, right? So we have a relationship with him there, obviously, as well. And talk a little bit about that. Explain the relationship. Explain how that works, and how this is a curveball I'm throwing at you because I didn't tell you we were going to talk about this, but and how that sort of how it's going, how that's helping you in your development and the learning phase.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been really good. I mean, I really enjoy, working closely with him, especially from like a coach to coach perspective, rather than like, in the past, so like I was a player and he was my coach. Right. And, there's very much like a mentorship there between the two of us, but at the same time, like, it's not that I don't think I see it this way. I don't think he sees it this way. And I don't think the rest of the staff see it this way, but it's not like I'm the first year coach and then he's the guy with all this experience. And it's like, I have to, run everything by him or whatever, it's kind of like we're very much almost side by side in the sense of how we do things. Right. So, like, he doesn't travel with the team, within reason, because he's with Pitt full time, and, he has a young child. And so, I mean, it would be crazy if he did. I think there's been talk he might get like one away trip here and there, but who knows if that'll happen. But so, I mean, so he's around for training every day, as long as there's nothing that he needs to be at Pitt. And then he's been at just about every home game. I think he missed one home game because of recruiting. Mm-hmm. And so usually, he'll come in, and most days we'll talk about kind of the week ahead. Like, we'll talk on like the weekend or something like that. And then he'll come in with a session planned. It's usually like in his mind. And then, we talk about it as we go through the session. And then I mostly do the serving. And then, here and there, we talk about different things. This week's been a little different because Pitt has a camp. So I've planned the sessions for Monday and today, and then he's come in right on time, and they just kind of jumps right in and does what I've been doing, is just coming in and serving and then following whenever I planned out.
That's cool.
And yeah, so it's been, I mean, it's always, it's very, it's just, I don't want to say it's easygoing, but it's kind of easygoing. Like, it's simple. Like, I mean, we manage just fine with how we plan things. And then, we'll both watch video when we're on the road. He'll watch the games, and then we'll talk, the next day or the day after, and just kind of, see, how the goalkeepers played. And, it's been all good.
Cool. I mean, it's exciting for me to hear. I mean, I'm obviously miss that world and miss being part of that stuff, but, don't have time for that life. Yeah. Glad that you're able to be in there and committed and travel every weekend and fully dive into it, this part of your life, almost the same way you would as a player. I mean, this is the closest thing you can be to being a pro player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And without all the, well, there's stress. Obviously, there's stress involved because, you know, performance, a lot
Yeah.
of times that can fall on your shoulders. But
yeah,
it's good space to learn and grow.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm in a good spot for it. I mean, being 25, turning 26, and you know, I just moved out of home. So last time we did a podcast, I was living at home, and I moved out about a month ago, and I'm on Mount Washington now, which, I mean, for those not from Pittsburgh, it's basically on the edge of, I mean, it is Pittsburgh, but I'm right above Highmark Stadium now. So every day I have a 8-minute drive to the stadium. And if I really, really wanted to, I could walk there, but I don't think I'd do that to myself. But
I remember that too. I lived up there, I think two or three of the years that I was with the team there towards the end of my playing career, and it was certainly nice.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
So easily. So let's talk about some of the challenges. We talked about the fun part, what you're enjoying, how well it's going. What do you think have been, you know, personally so far the biggest challenges with, you know, working with pros? I know you touched a little bit on the idea of, you know, you not having a background being a pro goalkeeper and coming in here with these pros and feeling there's not a ton of friction there. But, you know, is that a challenge? Is there something around there? Are there other things that have been a challenge? I mean, you even talked a little bit about just the physical workload. I don't think too many really understand just how physically challenging it can be to be a goalkeeper coach, especially if you have other obligations that are physical, like also coaching kids, or like you're doing, you know, you kind of weight trainings, physical training is really big on you. So that's obviously cutting in there. So
Sure.
Talk a lot of some of those things or all of them.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I think, I mean, when it comes to, like, you know, like I was saying, like with my background, like there's, and I wouldn't say this is something that's even specific to soccer and even like with what I'm doing with Riverhounds, but there's always that little bit of like imposter syndrome, you know, and it's like that. And everyone goes through this. I even go through it with martial fitness like half the time. And it's just the idea of like, if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's like, you know, there's like a voice in your head where it's like, do you really know what you're talking about? Like, is this,
I'm not really qualified for this.
Yeah.
Someone's
like
find out that whole
right. There's somebody else that knows better than me. And the thing about that is like, it's never going to go away. And then there's ways to manage it. And I mean, it's never something that really affects me like heavily, but it's always there, you know? And so there's that. And, you know, you just kind of have to like, you know, think about your own experiences and like, you know, where you've come from. And then, you know, obviously I'm in this position for a reason. It's not, I didn't just like stumble upon this. I mean, I kind of did, but it wasn't like I'm not here because, you know, Bob and Biss don't think I deserve to be here. And so that's all I really have to tell myself at the end of the day. But I mean, other challenges, I think this is another weird one too. And this is also is across the board, even with personal training, is like, I feel, and I mean, maybe you could speak on this too, is like, for some reason, I always feel like I have to keep training like new and exciting. And I think about that as like from a coaching perspective, and then even as personal training, like when I'm writing programs, like I feel like I always have to be doing something new. I got to keep it so that people don't get bored. And I've always felt that way, even with the academy kids. Like I thought like, oh, I don't want to do a session that I just did like 2 weeks ago because it's too fresh. They're going to know, and they're going to be like, oh, we just did this. But then no one thinks that. Like I never thought that. And, you know, as a player, and I even said to Chris, one of our keepers, I was like, hey, do you ever think about the fact that like we do a session maybe 2 weeks apart? He was like, never. And it comes down to like goalkeeping is not changing. Like it's always going to be the same stuff. You have to train the same way because it's the same position all the time. But still, I find myself wanting to do like have new things and like have new sessions and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it always comes around to being the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think a little bit about there's like my personality, and you could agree or disagree with this, is like, I don't get too far away from teaching the same concepts around,
right,
you know, whatever the idea, the tactical idea or the technical point. Like I more or less come at it the same way, but I don't know that I ever design a session the same way twice. And I think a little bit of that is because for that same reason. And a little bit too is just the way that, you know, it just never comes out the same way. Like I might not be presenting the idea in the same way. I'm not going to talk about it the same way. And it's going to be based on what's fresh in my mind. And so I think it's important that it stays fresh in delivery, but the content can be the same, right? And it's important that it's the same. And I think even more so at the professional level, you know, you start to get into these rhythms, right? These rhythms of, you know, recovery, match day, right? Recovery, rest, right? Then your first day or two of the new work week, right? You're going to train really after you've had your recovery day, then you're going to get after it, right? You're going to work really hard.
Yeah.
Probably going to have another rest day somewhere in the middle. And then when you're in the back half of the week, it's like, all right, we're going to work on dealing with crosses today. We're going to work on some distribution and some light handling, maybe the day before the game, and maybe anything specific to the scouting report of that particular opponent. Maybe it's a way they hit free kicks or something specific they do on the delivery. But it's hard to get creative within that. If you got 3 to 4 training sessions a week, and everybody think, oh, they're pros, they train every single day, but you're really only looking at 3 to 4, you know, windows of training where you're with the keepers. I mean, it runs long from time to time in your environment specifically, but where you're with the keepers, you know, 30 to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
On average, probably, right? So you got actually a lot to pack in there. And if you try to get too creative with it, then you get away from the stuff that they really need. But part of that too, right, is the more you do it and the more you work with these kids is starting to have a sense of their personalities and their sort of appetite for that some sort of thing. Some goalkeepers want the same thing the same way every single week. Some don't want to get bored, right? And I think that just comes with, you start to have a sense of who wants what, you know, after the more that you're with them and the more rapport you have with them. And honestly, I think it's probably more pressing with youth goalkeepers, to be completely honest. But they got to get over that a little bit. Honestly, if they're getting bored, it almost has to be a little bit boring and repetitive around those important developmental years, right? 12, 13, 14, in order to get the habits in there the right way. And I probably am at fault for going too much on with those ages of too repetitive, too much the same way. But I think it's important.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's something you'll figure out. The more you do it, the better you get with it. And you got to get that feedback. There's no more valuable tool than asking the keepers those questions.
Yeah.
Because as much as you might have the head coach telling you that they need to get better at this, this, and this, at the end of the day, they need to feel good about what they're about to do on match day. Right. And that's going to have a lot to do with what they did in the couple days leading up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think generally, like, you know, we're on the road. That session the day before is always the same because, like, you know, we go to New York on Thursday to play the Red Bulls Friday. We'll train Thursday when we get there. And like, I've already, you know, done this trip once, and like, we'll show up and, you know, it'll be the exact same session. Like, we'll have 25 minutes and then probably go into small sided or something like that. And then, so that's obviously exactly the same. I don't know. I just think about it in the sense of like, I think, and it's probably a normal thing. Like, as a coach, like you always set things up in a similar framework. And I'm always trying to like get a look into another framework. So that's what I think is really good about being around Bohonic, is because he sets things up in his own way, and it all roots from the same kind of, like I was saying, framework. Like, it's like, you know, there'll be, you know, ball here, and then somehow it all works in, and, you know, his drills can be almost a little complicated sometimes because there's a lot of moving parts and you got to remember a lot of things. But, you know, then I try to be really, really simple, and then I try to almost kind of combine the two. And then, you know, just being around other coaches is helpful.
Yeah, it is. And I think being around other coaches is one of the most important things for, you know, that was probably one of the points where I tried to be like self-critical often, is I didn't have a lot of opportunity to go and watch other coaches do what they do and not not falling too in love with the way that I like to do things. Right. And not having that opportunity to do that particularly often is where I really tried to lean on the goalkeepers that were there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? What would you rather do? Is there part of this that, you know, it feels like too much workload? Is there something else you'd rather add into the week? Is there something you'd like to take out? Like, I think that's a good sort of in between for anybody that doesn't have that opportunity to go watch. But when you do have those opportunities, go watch. But also get make sure you're getting context. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you're going to watch, like, if you go to watch an MLS group of goalkeepers train and you don't have an opportunity to have a conversation with the goalkeeper coach, I think it's a dangerous way to approach goalkeeping, and probably something you see more often than ever now with social media. So you can see a session and see what's being done and have no context, right? Because you don't know why it was planned. You don't know what the objectives are, right? And without having that piece, if you're only focusing on what you're seeing and then trying to recreate it, you can really miss the boat
Oh yeah.
and really create some challenges for your goalkeepers. And
yeah, I've been on the goalkeeping end of those kind of sessions before.
yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah.
And you need the context. And if you don't copy if you don't know the why. If you know the why, go for it. But if you don't know the why, don't copy. Stick to what you're comfortable with and what you understand, and be able to answer the questions that your keepers have.
Yeah.
What else? What else is going on with you? Anything? I know you said you nearly doubled in size now with Marshall Fitness. That's exciting.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been more of the same. Like, I'm trying to think where I was in April. There was a period of time where I had 5 clients and then I dropped to 3 for like a long time. And, it's weird being one of those, like, having your own business where those thoughts has to go through your head. It's like, well, what if I don't get any more clients? And I never thought that I wouldn't, because the way I look at it is like, the key to being successful at anything is just to work hard, be good to people, and keep showing up. And
just do
that's just what I kept doing. And I was just like, I probably I mark out like 1 day per week to come up with some marketing stuff on Canva, because Canva's the best. And, I talk to my clients every week, at least once a week. And then, what did it was, there was one guy that I've had for a while posted his 6-month transformation, and he's very popular in the Pittsburgh area because he's a realtor and he sells a lot of houses and he has a lot of followers. And so that got me a lot of traffic. And then from there, I think after that post, I'm pretty sure I signed up like 3 people in a matter of 2 days, which, like, for me, any one more client is significant all the time. And so there was a point where I was at 8, now I'm down to 7. And it's really just a matter of, like, 3 of my people are very new. So it's a matter of taking care of them and making sure they get like really, really good results. And then from there, you just kind of just inch my way into each new network. And so, recently I posted that I was going to cap it at 10. And if I get to 10, I think I will, for a little bit, just to make sure that I can manage all those people. And then from there, it's just, things continue, then I'll just keep going. The course that I took back in September that allowed me to set up the business as it is now has a level 2. And I've talked to some people within that organization about that, and I may consider doing that. It's another, investment into the business, and kind of trying to do more, I guess. Like, I'm always thinking about, like, what more can I do, even outside of.
How do you scale one person?
Yeah. And it's always like, there's always more to offer, I think. And it's just a matter of figuring it out, because it's always changing. Like, the way that I wrote programs a year ago, and the pricing and like the formatting, it's always different. Like, I just changed it again from what I was doing 2 months ago.
Right.
And so there's always something new to do. And it's a good thing. Like, it's like, there's always problems to solve, which, that's just life. Like, if you don't have problems to solve, then you're going to have some issues. But it's been good. It's so manageable too, because it's just all from my phone. Like, we were in Hartford. I think it was the first month, and I was taking sales calls, like, just before, on game day, like 5 hours before. I was just down the lobby calling people, and I signed up a client, like, on the road. And so there's time, and it's nice. It's easy.
I'm a little jealous. Yeah, I'm ready for the Will Marshall Entrepreneurship podcast.
Hey, you know what? It's not a bad idea. I got to get the blog back going again. I think that's what I got to do.
Well, and I think this is relevant to, to goalkeeping, whether you're a player now or whether you're a coach or whether you're both, right? There's this whole space of, like, what else do you do? How do you fund your passion, right? And so you're actually funding your passion with another passion Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
having that balance within your life, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And a lot of people that are probably really jealous to have a, typical 9 to 5 and do a little bit of something on the side, right? Because they really want to do that thing on the side. So
Yeah.
my only advice there is get after it early. Like if you're passionate, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Like don't wait to get set up right out of college and get secure. Just attack your passion and you'll invest into it what you need to from a time and energy standpoint, and eventually you'll be paying your bills.
Yeah. 100%. That conversation is something that I don't really bring it up a lot because I think there's a lot of people that are in that situation, and I don't want to make it seem like
it is time sensitive. If you don't attack it in that time of life, you potentially miss the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just have to do it. And that sounds so like that's not helpful, but that's really all it is. Like, I mean, my brother, for example, right now, he works in like advertising and marketing, and I may even be wrong about that, but he is like really into like photography, and he wants to start like a side hustle type thing of doing something like that. And right, he's texting me, he's like, oh, like I don't know what my name's gonna be, and I was like, it doesn't matter. Just go. Just go and put something together and throw it out there, and then just
put them on
keep
Instagram.
Doing that. Yeah, and that's all it has to be. And then eventually you're gonna gain a little bit of traction, and then you just have to ride that. And then eventually, if you keep showing up, like people are gonna find their way to you.
Right. Absolutely. And there's it's a different podcast for another day, whatever. Yeah. We got to talk a little bit too about the podcast itself and evolution and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to put a pin in that, but
no, I mean, this is a transition now. We're on to you.
Yeah, I guess so. So a couple things to talk about. Let's get into that real quick and try to be out of here in 10-15 minutes.
So, Hunter, tell us about Pro Player.
All right. So it's been a while, right, since our last podcast, and there's been a reason for that. And the biggest is around this. I have been a member of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds as a player or a staff since I came to Pittsburgh to play in 2010 for that season. So finally in May, with a lot of thoughtful consideration and involving my family and input, and finally made a decision to step away from the organization on good terms, right? Maintaining relationships as much as possible. And the big reason for that was around getting a great career opportunity back in January with Dick's Sporting Goods, working in technology, and using sort of the period from January where I took that job through April to kind of test, what the work-life balance between that job plus being the director of goalkeeping for the Riverhounds Academy looked like, and got to a point, I don't know, not even 2 months into that, where it started to really feel like it was a little too much. And part of my move out of coaching full-time in the beginning, when I stepped away from being a pro coach and only doing coaching for a career, was to have more time with my family. We have 2 kids, both adopted, almost 3 and 1 years old now. And so wanting to be around on nights, wanting to be home on the weekends and not traveling, no offense to Will and everything that he's doing now and really enjoying, but there's a time and a season in life for all of these things. So sure. I am no longer in a time and a season where I want to be gone on the nights and the weekends. So formally stepped away, right? But this is my passion. And so the step away from the podcast in April had a lot to do with figuring out, all right, well, what will coaching look like? How am I still going to be involved in goalkeeping? And how's that going to affect the podcast? Do I continue to do the podcast? How am I going to coach? And so through a lot of conversation with Will and sort of was able to use him as sort of a resource for what's it look like to start your own business. And came up with the idea to start my own, I don't even know what I would call it necessarily. Technically an LLC, but I don't want to call it a goalkeeping academy. I want to call it's more of a goalkeeper training resource, right? It's private lessons, it's group sessions, it's basically whatever it can be. It's consulting with clubs and organizations that need help with their goalkeeping. And the idea for calling it Pro Player, didn't want to stick my name on it. They wanted to be called Hunter Gilstrap Goalkeeping. And obviously my background is in the pro world. I've been fortunate enough to have that experience, but obviously you got to have an acronym. So especially coming from the world that I'm in now, the corporate world, everything's an acronym. So P.R.O, right? It's actually, it's a call out to my background. It's also a sort of a shout to this concept of, having a passion and how do you get to the outcome. So if, you have your passion and you have your goal, right? That's the P and the O, but how do you get there? And as well as I know that it's repetitions, right? So the formula for our tagline for pro player is passion plus reps equals outcome. So
what an acronym that is. I did not see that coming. I mean, I knew about pro player for, the name, but then it wasn't until I looked at your website and it said passion plus reps equals outcome. I was like, wow, like I just would have never thought.
It fell on my head one day.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And honestly, the idea has been, this will be the, it's for profit, right? I mean, it is call it a side hustle, call it what you will. But in a capacity that is only works with my current work schedule, right? So the timing worked nicely with rolling things out in the summer. And basically I said, hey, I'm gonna do some private lessons, put the website out there, see what happens. And so I opened up mornings during the week before I start work, 7:30 to 8:20, 50-minute sessions. And within, a week or 10 days, had more or less the entire summer booked up. So then I was like, wow, I mean, that's a lot. So what am I supposed to do now? I don't want to turn anyone away. So then decided to add an hour before that, thinking, there's no one in their right mind that's going to want to book, a 6:30, 6:40 a.m. session to do goalkeeper training. But, believe it or not, almost booked up through August. So it's been crazy. And we also started a group of college goalkeepers that Jules is doing. Will's sister, Jules, is involved there. And she's actually and doing 2 camps, right? The 2 camps are mostly around, one really for beginners and then one for the more advanced goalkeepers. So it's not a big time commitment. I've got those nights and weekends with my family. And then obviously, once the fall hits, there will be some sort of regular weekly training sessions offered. So I'm working on the logistics of that right now. But so what's that mean for the podcast? I'm working on that, tying the brands together. I didn't want to shut GK4FREE down and call it the Pro Player podcast. I think the direction we're heading is, GK4FREE powered by Pro Player and Aviana Sports, of course, as you can see all around here. But I think, the big picture plan is I want GK4FREE to be free all the time. I mean, we've talked about that a lot and how passionate we are about that. And I think I want to have free training opportunities for goalkeepers in Pittsburgh and hopefully, maybe across the country. And then also want to have free coaching clinics as well. Same idea. So the idea is that Pro Player and the podcast can help drive some of those free training opportunities that we can actually hope to continue to go out there and do some good, maybe have a real life sort of version of what we're trying to do here with this podcast. So that's where we're at right now. That's a lot. That's what's going on. And so we'll be talking a lot about Pro Player as we move forward in the future.
All right. I mean, we're in a good spot, I think. I mean, a lot's not a bad thing. It's a lot of directions things can go at the same time, which is good. That's what you want.
And intentionally a little bit open-ended right now, just to, again, do it in the capacity that makes sense and see what happens down the road.
Yeah. Sure. See, are there any other questions I was supposed to ask?
I don't know. Are there any questions that you're supposed to ask? I'm not sure. I think we might be good.
Yeah, I think we covered it. I mean, if we're leaving it here, we're not going to give any hints as to who our future guests are going to be or anything.
Well, nice job. I think we do have a confirmed guest that'll sort of be brand new around, a couple of different things for us. We really haven't, not by design, but we haven't had any women's goalkeepers on the podcast yet. We've had some great guests, pro coaches and college coaches and pro goalkeepers, MLS goalkeepers and USL keepers. And we're, we have not had any female goalkeepers, and I think that's a bit of a problem, right? Because I've worked with tons of female goalkeepers over the years. I've probably trained more female goalkeepers than men's goalkeepers, and the fact that we're not providing something that can specifically address their needs, that so that's as they sort of reboot GK4FREE, wanted to make sure we have a really awesome women's goalkeeper with a bright future that I think is going to be making a big impact at the pro level. It's already doing so at the college level, and has been in with the youth national teams. Hensley Handcuff. So she's confirmed that she's going to try to find some time in her schedule to join us. And so the next time you're seeing us or hearing from us, it will be with Hensley, and we'll be hearing her really awesome story of challenge, right? Meeting adversity and overcoming and working hard. And, I just want to hear about her and how she's gotten to where she is, and what her plan is for her future. Because some other stuff that's super cool about her and what she does is, she's also very focused on her brand, right? And her presence on social media. And I think that with the change this summer around the NCAA and college athletes, I think she's going to hopefully have some good questions for her around, how she's approaching that, navigating that, and sponsorship and all those things. She hasn't sent us how much it's going to cost yet. So hopefully we can still get away with doing it for free, because that's about the budget we operate on.
Yeah, she has her stories, something, and I'm really excited to hear it from her perspective. Yeah. I was reading up on her, and it was like I thought I had that was it, and then I was reading more, and then there's so much more to just her, how she got to where she is now, and it's crazy. So
we're not gonna spoil it. So if you want to go read up on Hensley, she's a goalkeeper at Clemson University for the women's team, which is where I went to college too. So that's another reason I think this is pretty cool. Yeah. So that's it. That's what we got coming up. Anything exciting? Who are you guys playing this week? You mentioned.
We're at New York to play the Red Bulls for the third time. Yeah. 3 of 4. And then the following week, we're home against Hartford, and then away at Charleston.
Yeah. And I'm okay putting this out on the air too. If anybody hears it, they're like, "Oh, that's cool. I've listened all the way through your podcast. I heard that thing you said at the end." Then I'll obviously have the conversation with them. But I want you to put a bug in your ears with your pro guys about potentially doing a winter camp with some pros. I started having some conversations already, and I think it's going to be a thing that we can bring some guys into town and see what we can do. So maybe start planting that seed, see if 1 or 2 of those guys might be in town.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be. I think at least I know 1 for a fact will be here. So
yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, this has been GK4FREE. Will, you got anything before we go? Some wisdom?
Not really. I mean, like I said before, just keep showing up. That's all you got to do.
And if you have an idea, if you've got something on your mind that you really want to do, and that's pro player as well. I've had it in my mind a long time. That's why I started this podcast, right? I had a passion for putting this knowledge out in the world, and then now I'm able to do it from a coaching perspective as well. Go do it, right? Start a podcast, start a social page, start putting content out there. If you like to make music, record yourself, put it out on social, right? Just start doing it and see what happens. Don't get
as far as I know, you're only alive one time, so I don't know what we're waiting for.
Don't get stuck in the planning, right? Don't get stuck in the what if. Don't get stuck in the what is everybody going to think.
Yeah. And the day doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter. Happiness is important.
Yeah.
That's a John North quote. John North?
Who?
It's not John.
The weightlifter?
Yeah, it's John North. Is that his name?
Yeah, that's the right name. I don't know.
Yeah, love your life or change it. That's his. Big
thing. No, you're right. Yeah.
Love your life or change it.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We just plugged John North. We'll have to tag
that's him. Yeah.
If you can listen to our long podcast.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Over here. Thanks, Aviata Sports. Ben, thanks for the jersey.
That's a little special sick jersey. I've been eyeing that the whole time.
Yeah. I feel kind of bad. I asked him for it. But GK for Free, powered by Pro Player and Avia Sports. Thanks for spending some time with us. Thanks for learning, and buckle up because we got a lot on board.
Yeah, more to come.
Yeah, more to come. Thanks, everybody.